We've been told, by scientists, governments, textbooks, and even space agencies that over 8 billion people live on this planet, that we are on the verge of overpopulation, that Earth is bursting at the seams, choking under the weight of human life. But what if this number is fake? What if the population count we've been fed is based on broken models, outdated data, and in some cases, complete fabrication? You look around. Your town, your city, your neighborhood. Does it really feel like the world is packed with 8 billion people? Have you ever driven across entire regions with empty highways, abandoned towns, and vast rural landscapes and wondered, where is everybody? This isn't a joke or a science fiction story. This is a question backed by numbers, logic, and growing skepticism, even among the world's most powerful thinkers. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most controversial ideas of our time. Is the Earth's population actually much smaller than we're told? And more importantly, why would anyone lie about it? In this video, we'll explore how population data is calculated, expose its shocking weaknesses, and look at who stands to benefit from inflating global numbers. And yes, Elon Musk has spoken about this, but what he said might surprise you. So, buckle up. The lie of 8 billion people is about to be unraveled. And before you start, you can subscribe to our channel. So, where do these 8 billion people actually come from? How do we even know how many people are on Earth? The number of people on Earth is, in fact, a calculation. It's not like a census where someone goes door to door asking you how many people live in your home. Instead, global population estimates are based on models, predictions, that rely on assumptions and projections. These models use data from things like census data, which are done in only a handful of countries, birth rates, death rates, migration patterns, and, of course, historical data. But here's the problem. These numbers are often incomplete and flawed. Some countries don't conduct full censuses, while others underreport or overreport their numbers for various reasons. For example, in developing nations, many births and deaths are never officially recorded. And when it comes to migration, especially in war-torn or unstable regions, numbers become guesswork. It's like trying to make a perfect recipe with half of the ingredients missing. Here's the kicker. Some governments and organizations admit that these numbers are just estimates. In fact, the United Nations, which regularly publishes population estimates, openly acknowledges that the figures are built on assumptions that may be wrong. In short, the population is a number based on educated guesses. But who benefits from inflating this number? Let's dive deeper into the holes in the official story. If the world truly had 8 billion people, we should feel it everywhere, not just in headlines, but in our daily lives. But when you travel across countries, the story often doesn't match the numbers. Let's start with the obvious. There are entire regions, even nations, that feel empty. In the US, for example, you can drive for hours without seeing a soul. Huge parts of Canada, Russia, Australia, and Brazil are virtually uninhabited. What about China, the most populated country in the world? Satellite images show entire ghost cities, fully built urban areas with apartment blocks, malls, and roads, but no people. Tens of thousands of buildings stand in silence. Why build cities no one lives in? Shouldn't a planet with 8 billion people be overflowing? Even in large cities, something feels off. You'd expect chaos, traffic jams everywhere, constant crowds. But many capital cities around the world often show signs of undercapacity. Public transport is half empty. Restaurants aren't full. Where is everybody? And there's another layer to this, the digital footprint. In a world of 8 billion people, nearly half should be online. But major platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok show suspiciously flat engagement curves. Why doesn't the internet reflect the exploding population? Some say it's because many people live in areas without tech access, but that's another contradiction. If we count them as alive, shouldn't their absence from all systems be a red flag? The truth is this. The systems that report population numbers are based on paper, guesses, and projections. But the reality on the ground tells a different story. And more people are noticing the cracks. If the world is so crowded, why are so many places so empty? Let's talk about ghost cities, not just abandoned towns, but entire modern urban environments built for millions, now left eerily quiet. China is the most obvious example. In places like Ordos Kangbashi, Tianducheng, and Ujiapu, you'll find huge cityscapes, thousands of apartment units, skyscrapers, parks, and even theme parks with almost no residents. Streets are empty. Lights stay off. These aren't ruins. They were built within the last 20 years, but they never filled up. Some say they're investments or speculative real estate. But then, why keep building them? China isn't alone. Similar projects have appeared in Angola, India, and even Dubai. And then there are entire rural areas, miles and miles of unused land in the United States, Russia, Australia, Africa. These aren't uninhabited due to natural disaster or war. They're just empty. So again, where is everybody? Satellite imagery from NASA shows our planet is mostly green or brown. Cities occupy only about 3% of Earth's land surface. And even within cities, vast areas are unused, industrial zones, parking lots, abandoned suburbs. Add to that the global trend of declining birth rates. From Europe to Japan to South Korea, populations are aging and shrinking. Fewer children are born every year. So how does the total number still go up? Could it be that the number never was what they claimed? Many skeptics argue that population numbers were overestimated long ago and governments are afraid to adjust them downward because it would reveal economic weaknesses, collapse of growth myths, and even political deception. Because if there aren't 8 billion people, what happens to economic forecasts? What happens to climate models? And most importantly, what happens to control? It's no longer just a demographic issue. It becomes a question of power. If you are interested in this video and you haven't subscribed or liked it yet, please do so. If the world is lying about its population, then someone must be benefiting from the lie. Let's talk about who profits from making the world seem more crowded than it actually is. Governments and power structures. The illusion of a growing population helps governments justify expansion, more taxes, more social control, more surveillance. If they say the population is exploding, they can expand cities, increase budgets, build more infrastructure, and nobody questions it. It also allows them to hide economic stagnation. If your economy isn't growing, just claim. Well, of course, we've got more mouths to feed. But what if the mouths aren't there? Corporations and global markets. Big corporations love large numbers. They can show shareholders and investors charts that say, look, our market has 2 billion users. Even if half of them are inactive, fake, or duplicates, the illusion drives investment, stock value, and global influence. More people equals more demand. More demand equals higher prices and profits. And in industries like tech, advertising, real estate, and agriculture, population size is used as the foundation for their entire business models. Global institutions and NGOs. The UN, World Bank, these institutions rely on crises to stay relevant. A shrinking, declining population doesn't sound like a crisis. But overpopulation? Now that's a global emergency. More people means more. Programs, grants, donations, power. It also keeps people distracted. If you think you're one of billions, it's easier to believe you're just a cog in the machine, powerless, replaceable, easy to control. So ask yourself, if the population was far smaller, who would lose power? Who would lose money? Who would lose control? Sometimes the best way to hide the truth is to bury it in a very big number. You've heard of Elon Musk, billionaire entrepreneur, visionary, and CEO of companies like Tesla and SpaceX. But what you may not know is that Elon Musk doesn't believe in overpopulation. In fact, he believes the exact opposite. In multiple interviews and tweets, Musk has said, population collapse is the biggest threat to civilization. He repeated it again at the 2022 All-In Summit. Most people think we have too many people on the planet. This is an outdated view. I think the biggest problem the world will face in the next 20 to 40 years is population collapse. Mark my words. Let that sink in. The man sending rockets into space and building AI robots is warning the world not about too many people, but about not enough. Musk has also criticized countries like Japan, South Korea, and Italy, where birth rates are so low that the population is literally shrinking every year. And he's not alone. Demographers, economists, and sociologists are starting to agree. In fact, in 2023, Japan recorded more deaths than births. The same happened in Germany, Italy, and China. And this trend is accelerating. Yet, somehow, we're still told the global number is rising. Why? Could it be that we're using outdated models? Or worse, deliberately hiding the truth? When one of the most forward-thinking minds of our time says population collapse is a danger, maybe it's time we started asking different questions. Because if the population is in decline, then the whole 8 billion narrative falls apart like a house of cards. If official numbers are flawed, is there any way to estimate how many people are really on Earth? The truth is, nobody knows for sure. But some independent researchers and whistleblowers believe the real number may be much, much lower, possibly between 4 and 6 billion people worldwide. Let's look at why they think that. 1. Census gaps. In many developing countries, particularly in Africa and parts of Asia, there's no reliable population tracking at all. Some areas haven't had a proper census in over 30 years. In rural regions, births and deaths often go unrecorded. Governments rely on projections, not real headcounts. 2. Death underreporting versus birth overestimating. In some countries, infant deaths aren't reported. Others inflate birth rates to receive more foreign aid. When your funding is based on population size, the temptation to tweak the numbers becomes very real. 3. Ghost identities. Digital ghosting is a real phenomenon. Millions of people exist only on paper, names in databases, ID numbers created for fraud, or records that were never deleted after death. These people can be counted again and again for statistics, voting, or even financial manipulation. 4. Satellite discrepancies. Satellite thermal data used to detect human activity in cities has shown a disconnect between reported population density and actual light and heat signatures at night. In short, some dense areas are much darker than they should be, suggesting fewer people actually live there. So, what if we're not 8 billion, but 5.5 billion? Or 4.2? What if the greatest demographic illusion in human history is being quietly maintained because the truth would crash economies, shift global power, and destroy entire narratives? There are no easy answers. But the question must be asked. Because the truth about how many of us are here may be the most important number no one wants to reveal. So, what's the truth? Are we really 8 billion strong? Or have we all bought into a global illusion, one repeated so often, by so many, that we stop questioning it? Today, we've shown how global population numbers are built on models and estimates, not facts. How governments, corporations, and global institutions benefit from the overpopulation narrative. How even people like Elon Musk warn about the opposite, not too many people, but not enough. And how satellite data, census inconsistencies, and digital anomalies suggest something very different from the official story. This doesn't mean we know the exact number. But maybe that's the point. Why don't we? Why is one of the most important statistics about human existence based on assumptions? If we've been lied to about this, what else have we accepted without question? We're not saying the world is empty. We're not saying there's a grand conspiracy. But we are saying this. The official number may be wrong, and you have the right to question it. So now, it's your turn. Look around. Look at your city, your travels, your online activity. Does this feel like a planet with 8 billion people? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a conversation, not to divide, but to discover. And if this video made you think differently, share it. Because sometimes, waking up starts with asking the one question no one else is willing to.